Injuries to Isiah Pacheco, Cooper Kupp, Joe Mixon, Deebo Samuel, and A.J. Brown have fantasy football managers scrambling for running back and wide receiver help on the Week 3 waiver wire. We tell you who to pick up, and you must add only on today's Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. As usual, I'm one of your co-hosts, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com. Our co-host, Michelle Majuk, is off today, so I'm going to be flying solo here to give you Week 3 waiver wire advice. A lot of injuries have hit positions all across the NFL. We got Isiah Pacheco and Joe Mixon at running back, Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, and A.J. Brown, guys that are going to miss time now at wide receiver. So we'll give you players that you should pick up at those positions and more. Look at quarterbacks, tight ends, and streaming defense options for you on today's show. Before we proceed, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, let's dive right in. Big question mark here. Isiah Pacheco has fractured his fibula. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. That is the conservative estimate for the Chiefs starting running back. Now, Carson Steele led the team in carries when he was out against the Bengals. And now we have Samaje Perine, the former Bengal, who is added late in the process of the offseason to be kind of a third down and pass catching back. And now an old name, an old fantasy star for the Chiefs, Kareem Hunt, has been visiting. So he could be a consideration here. Carson Steele is a rookie. Samaje Perine was added to the offense very late. Kareem Hunt, of course, knows this offense and going back to his days with the Chiefs. So very interesting development. For now, without Hunt on the roster, I think Carson Steele is the guy we go after. Samaje Perine would be second, but Hunt is going to be very intriguing. It would not surprise me at all if Hunt is back on the team and they give him a prominent role, but I think this is going to be a committee approach. Hunt, keep in mind, has been off all off season since he was let go or not re-signed by the Browns. So I look at this situation still developing here for the Chiefs, and let's monitor that. It could be a blown-up committee here. What I think is going to happen overall is that Patrick Mahomes in the passing game is going to ramp up a little bit more, and Travis Kelce is going to get a bump in the red zone. But right now, I would say Steele is the priority. If Hunt is picked up, then I would say Steele and Hunt are kind of equal, and Samaje Perine falls off the radar here as someone you want to target just because Hunt can fill that role, right? I mean, he's a guy that is in the passing downs, can score touchdowns as well. So he would step in and take over and potentially have a very key role here for this team when Pacheco's out. So still a lot to monitor here, so be careful there. Now, the next situation we look at running back is Joe Mixon. It looks like he's going to miss some time as well. He was injured in the Sunday night game against the Bears. Cam Akers was the first person up, but he did lose a key fumble there that allowed the Bears to stay in the game late. They did incorporate Dario Ogunbowale. Not available to them was Dameon Pierce, who was hurt. So right now, if I had to say who they're going to trust the most, it's actually a revenge game for Cam Akers as they play the Vikings this week in Week 3 in Minnesota. So if he was going to be the guy that they trust next, it's him. Dario Ogunbowale, if you remember from the Buccaneers and Jaguars, other teams, he was more receiving, change of pace type back. They're not going to trust him with the key work all the way through the goal line. So Akers would be in line to get the high leverage work here to replace Mixon in that Minnesota game. And Mixon, all signs are pointing toward him missing the game. Now, if there's a little bit more clarity here, I would trust this situation where I like Akers a little bit more, guaranteed to get the touches. But if Steele and Perine have to deal with Hunt in the short term, it could be a little bit mess as they kind of work Hunt back into game shape, into the offense. So then it would be maybe not a recommendation for this week as the Chiefs take on the Falcons for going in anywhere. But Akers could have a clear path should Pierce miss another game for the Texans along with Mixon this week. Now, we have some rookie handcuffs that keep doing it here. Blake Corum did get a little bit more work for the Rams with Kyren Williams kind of banged up, but the main thing was they were behind big in Arizona. So you don't read too much into that after Corum did not see a single snap in week one. But there are other three rookie running backs that we definitely want to look at more and more. That's Bucky Irving. We had Rachaad White had a bit of a scare with a shoulder injury in the Buccaneers game against the Lions. He was ineffective. They want to work in Irving more. He had a good role in week one. So someone to look at, I think he definitely needs to be managed as a handcuff to White, but he could have a little bit more value. I look at Braylon Allen. We'll see if his role continues to be usable and operational with Brees Hall in the lineup for the Jets. They get the Patriots this week. I can't chase Allen being a backup, but again, one of the better premium handcuffs, much like we had Jordan Mason come through for a lot of teams already. Tyler Algier would be the guy that you're looking for Bijan Robinson. So again, Braylon Allen in that same vein, as well as Bucky Irving, guys you should have. And another backup you must have also is Ray Davis. James Cook finally got going with a couple touchdowns on the ground and one through the air against the Dolphins last Thursday night in week 2. But Ray Davis was involved. He's the next guy there. The rookie can do a lot of things Dalvin Cook can do, a good power runner, but also a very good receiver and a versatile player. So I think they would seamlessly put Davis in there for Cook if Cook needed to miss time. So again, if you're a Cook manager or someone else looking for a lottery ticket, Ray Davis is an excellent stash. They're a very good rookie out of Kentucky. Now, two other guys that are going to pop up on the radar at running back, Antonio Gibson and Ty Chandler. Gibson was fantastic. He went over the century mark there in the matchup against the Seahawks, and he looked good. And this running game is going to be pretty dedicated. It's a lot of throws to Hunter Henry, but after Ramondre Stevenson, they need to continue running the ball and getting the ball in the hands of their backs. Gibson has been good in that capacity so far. Early in week 2, now they get the Jets. Short week, I wouldn't go anywhere really extra in this Patriots team behind Stevenson for this matchup. But yeah, when I look at it, you totally can't ignore a player that was that involved. And again, they don't have a lot in the receiving core, so they might need Gibson, a converted wide receiver from Memphis, to be a little bit more involved in that capacity behind Stevenson. Then you have Ty Chandler. Aaron Jones lost a fumble for the Vikings in the win over the 49ers. Ty Chandler got a significant role. He got some burst there for 82 yards and only 10 carries. So Chandler is not going away as an option for this Vikings offense, but keep in mind Aaron Jones is older. He's got an injury history, plenty of volume behind him. So there could be an opportunity that knocks here for what Ty Chandler can do a little bit more and more. So we should consider him for sure. So a lot of second backs that might have some value that we want to explore. So those are the situations that we want to look at most, starting with Isiah Pacheco and likely Mixon to join him in losing time. In our next situation, we'll look at the wide receivers that you want to target on the waiver wire because we need to find some help. Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown, all these guys are going to continue to be out this week. So we will address that here on the next segment of Locked On Fantasy Football. This episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for small businesses, you want to find quality professionals who are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. You got to really look at LinkedIn Jobs because they're going to make everything easier with their process. You can post jobs in minutes there. So it's really good if you're looking to hire quickly and turn over your staff. You can really get the help you need for a small business. Their LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you find professionals you can't hire anywhere else, even those who aren't actually searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role in a new organization. A given month, more than 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. If you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. LinkedIn Jobs, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. 2.5 million small businesses use and trust LinkedIn Jobs. Be one of them. They will help you have all the resources you need to hire. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. This episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is also brought to you by the GameTime app. You're looking for last-minute tickets, the best deals, all the good stuff that you want to know that you've got the best seats in the house for your concert or sporting event. GameTime has got you covered. They even have an all-in pricing feature that you can turn on so you know exactly how much you're paying for your seats. You also get a good look at the views and be totally covered there with their ticket insurance. So all kinds of things that you can take advantage of to know that you can get last minute tickets, great deals, and also know that if you bought a ticket in advance that you can move if there is a other plan that pops up. So there's a lot of things that are going to help you find answers on Game Time with your ticket purchases. Take your guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. A download of the Game Time app, and then you create an account. Use the promo code Locked on NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account and use the code, redeem it, Locked on NFL, LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off a download. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, it is time to continue the show here on Locked On Fantasy Football. Let's look at the wide receiver waiver wire this week because, again, we have a lot of questions we need to answer with those three big names out. I mean, we also have some other names. Puka Nacua before is already on the shelf for the Rams. So a lot of question marks, but those big three hit a nerve there. And you also don't know about Justin Jefferson. He should play the injury and really be okay. But T. Higgins is also out. So we need to look at some replacement options here. We start with Quentin Johnston. He's looked fantastic the first 2 weeks. He really came through and produced against the Panthers with his pair of touchdowns, caught all of his targets. He's locked in with Justin Herbert. They do get the Steelers this week. It's a tough secondary with Joey Porter Jr. and some of the people back there, but he's clearly the number one target here over Josh Palmer, over the rookie Ladd McConkey. Now, the Chargers are not throwing a lot because they're running so well. They've rushed for 395 yards in the first two games, but this is an opportunity to expand the role of Johnston. They really like him as a first-round pick. He was a doghouse early in training camp in the preseason, but came through, revved it up, stepped up his game, and now he's got the complete trust of Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. So I like Quentin Johnston. He should be the number one priority. Go after him. He can be valuable this week, even tough matchup against the Steelers. I think there's definitely playing room for him. Now, what do you do with the Rams receivers? Now, I wasn't too impressed with what you got from the other guys, so to speak, with Tutu Atwell and Tyler Johnson and the rookie Jordan Whittington. Demarcus Robinson's still the only pickup there. I wouldn't even go after Colby Parkinson. I just think what's going to happen is Rams team is just going to struggle offensively. I mean, they don't have a lot. Their offensive line is breaking down, by the way, too, with Jonah Jackson getting hurt. So he was the big guard pickup they made from the Lions in the offseason. So up front, this offense is breaking down. And wide receiver, I mean, you're dwindling. Demarcus Robinson is the best option here because he's the guy that can get open, has most versatility. And I think you'll have some flashes from Atwell and Johnson and Whittington and the tight ends. All these things will happen. But I think the biggest thing that you'll see later is that Tyler Higbee steps into a big role if he can return here. And maybe we're going to be more interested in him. But for now, at wide receiver, I'm looking at Demarcus Robinson here having really good value. He's going to have to eat up a lot of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua's targets there. Again, not a lot of production yet. He's a little bit of a big play guy. He needs to be a little bit more consistent, but I think he'll get the volume to get those opportunities and be a little bit more viable in fantasy going forward. He's going to be the clear number one, but I'm not sure I want to invest in any other receivers for this limited passing game, especially matchup against the 49ers is very tough, and I think Matthew Stafford is going to be put in a lot of tough spots going forward. Alec Pierce, you have to stop looking at Josh Downs and when he's going to return. Alec Pierce is the guy on the field doing it ahead of A.D. Mitchell. He won that camp battle. He's the go-to guy right now. Unfortunately for Michael Pittman managers, that Pittman is quiet and Anthony Richardson keeps looking to go deep. Alec Pierce has scored in the first two games. Can he keep it up? We'll see, but I think he's at least rosterable as a wide receiver 3. They get the Bears this week, a tough secondary matchup with Jaylen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson. So I may not play Pierce this week, but he definitely should be rostered. Now, 49ers, we know we lost Deebo Samuel for a bit. The pivot there is to Jawan Jennings. He's been pretty solid the first 2 weeks. It's just a question of volume when they have Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. But what it helps is that Jordan Mason is not a big pass catcher, replacing Christian McCaffrey, and they lost Deebo, who was cutting into kind of that McCaffrey receiving role as well as rushing the ball here. So they need to throw to more guys. Jawan Jennings would then be their short area slot guy that they have to trust a little bit more. So I do recommend picking up Jennings as a wide receiver 3 in 12 to 14 team leagues. I think he definitely could have some value there. Again, you're looking for any value at this point Robinson, Jennings, Johnston. These are guys that can give that to you. So you're not looking to hit the home run here, knowing that you don't have Kupp or Nakua or Samuel or Brown. You're just looking for someone who can be your wide receiver 3, because everyone has to slide up and step up on your roster elsewhere to kind of survive this. So Jennings, however, gives you a little bit of a comfort that you can push another player up into a key role in your lineup. Now, Darnell Mooney had a long touchdown. I actually started him in one league last night. So there's definitely good chemistry between him and Kirk Cousins for the deep ball. He also was targeted a couple times in the red zone for potential touchdowns there. Couldn't quite connect with Kirk Cousins. So I'm interested in Mooney more and more as Drake London starts to be a factor, and Kyle Pitts should be a bigger one. They play the Chiefs, so it's a little bit tough here coming up in week 3. It's a primetime game, but Mooney definitely could be rostered. Now, Jalen Naylor could have a bigger role should Jordan Addison continue to sit. Justin Jefferson's a little banged up. TJ Hawkins is still not back for the Vikings. So something to look at with Jalen Naylor. Again, big play guy, a little inconsistent. One more big play guy I say will be Jalen Tolbert. He had a big catch there for the Cowboys against the Saints in garbage time, but he was the leading target getter. There were Jake Ferguson banged up and the attention going to CeeDee Lamb. Ferguson was not in there. So Brandon Cooks kind of took a back seat here to Jalen Tolbert, a young receiver they've been high on the past. So if you need a big play dart throw as a wide receiver 4 or 5, someone you want to add in a deeper league, I think you look at any of those options there with Mooney, Naylor, and Tolbert. Now, last guy I will throw out, because Deontay Johnson, I get, is managing a lot of leagues. So there's a lot of hope that he'll produce better with Andy Dalton as the quarterback. But here's the rub. Andy Dalton has his best experience with Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is available in a lot of leagues. Around 70% of leagues that you can get Adam Thielen of moderate size team leagues that are leaving him on the waiver wire. Well, Adam Thielen had a big game with Andy Dalton. He only started one game last year, Dalton did, but it was a memorable one for Adam Thielen. He had double-digit catches, went well over 100 yards. So, yeah, Adam Thielen could be sneaky here because everyone's got Johnson for the most part, hoping for better things with the quarterback change. I get it. Thielen produced when Johnson wasn't there last year, but Andy Dalton does like throwing to the middle of the field in the slot, and Thielen is still that key role here in that Panthers offense for Dave Canales. Now, we'll get to our last segment and look at quarterbacks and tight ends, as well as a streaming defense or two you can play on the waiver wire. Just have to hear from one more of our fine sponsors. This episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. It is America's #1 sportsbook. That's why we talk about FanDuel a lot. Well, we have something special to offer to you, a little different as well. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon and out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. So check it out. It's a great deal. You can watch all your fantasy players in action early in the season, and FanDuel is going to hook you up. Just go to FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. Again, that's FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right, it is time to continue and close the show here, looking at the waiver wire for quarterbacks and tight ends. Let's actually start at tight end because we had a big name, a former Charger that came through for the Patriots. He looked good with Mac Jones. He's looking good now with Jacoby Brissett. Hunter Henry, he led the team in receiving by far. He was the only real factor. Jalen Polk, the rookie wide receiver, was way down below him. Polk did score a touchdown, but Henry, nearly 100-yard game there in the first half. I mean, he just went off here against the Seahawks. So he's locked into a key role on the Patriots offense with their wide receivers. Again, inexperienced or limited here. They do get the Jets this week. It's a pretty tough matchup. The Jets just are really tough on everybody in coverage, but they have a few leaks. You can run on them, and Henry will be on the field quite a bit, blocking for Stevenson and Gibson there. So I do like Hunter Henry quite a bit. He should be the #1 tight end. Pick up again. This is a former Charger that had a lot of fantasy appeal as a first-round pick for that team. So, again, Hunter Henry thought by default he could see more targets. In week 1, he disappeared, but I think Brissett realized he needed to put the ball in Henry's hands a little bit more in week 2, and that's something we'll see continue to develop. Unfortunately, again, the Jets matchup doesn't make it all that appealing, but there will be chances where you can play Henry there for sure. Now, you look at the situation with Jacoby Brissett, I think Drake May can only help Hunter Henry. Keep in mind, Henry had a big year scoring touchdowns with Mac Jones as a rookie. So that's very good news that Hunter Henry is going to be maybe, quote, quarterback proof for down the rest of the season. Now, Mike Gesicki, I think he's more of a streamer. You could take a shot on him. We'll see about T. Higgins. They're a little bit more optimistic that Higgins returns this week. That would definitely cut into what Gesicki's role could be against the Commanders, but it's a really good matchup this week. Again, Gesicki almost scored in week one. There was a talk that touchdown should have stood, and we thought touchdown could be his biggest value, but then he pulls off a kind of slot receiver type game. They're playing off Andre Savas and Jermaine Burton there for the Bengals. So I'm looking at Gesicki being a very good streamer this week, and the Commanders' defense is not very good, so you can definitely plug and play Gesicki. He becomes a more appealing play should Higgins sit another game for Cincinnati. Then you look at Luke Schoonmaker, and the Schoonmaker is also in a really good spot. The Ravens have allowed some big games to Noah Gray and Brock Bowers, so they do let replacement-level tight ends produce. They do get that opportunity again. Just the way the coverage of the Ravens is in the middle of the field opens things up. So should Jake Ferguson sit again, and you're a Jake Ferguson manager in particular, you can look at Luke Schoonmaker to give you a bit of an uplift. So definitely a guy that should be on the radar, and we'll monitor the knee of Ferguson all week. Now, let's turn to quarterback. There's three guys out there that people are not surprisingly skeptical about. I'll just say that. It's Derek Carr, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. I was trying to be very diplomatic there to say nobody believes in these guys too much, but seeing might be believing when we look at Derek Carr and Geno Smith and Sam Darnold for now. I think Sam Darnold's hard to trust if Jordan Addison continues to be out and TJ Hawkinson, and you still are really dependent on Justin Jefferson. So I wouldn't say that's a great matchup against the Texans this week. So he's out as a streamer for me. Then let's look at Derek Carr. I think the Eagles proved, they let a solid game and a winning game come through with Kirk Cousins on Monday night. So I do like that Cousins was able to deal on that Eagles defense. The Eagles defense is a little disappointing. They can give a lot on the ground. And again, we did see Alvin Kamara continue to roll here in two games. He's gone off against the Panthers and the Cowboys. So he'll have a factor. They'll play action, throw downfield. Rashid Shaheed will be open here, and Chris Olave should be more involved. So Derek Carr is a much better streamer than Sam Darnold this week, and definitely playable in that matchup against the Eagles. And then you look at what you might get from Geno Smith. They're playing the Dolphins at home. The Dolphins have a pretty good corner duo there with Jalen Ramsey and Kendall Fuller, but there are some issues up front where Geno Smith could have time to throw downfield. DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith-Njigba coming off big games. They could also throw it at tight end. I think Ryan Grubb, their offensive coordinator who came from Washington, is highly intelligent, can adapt his offense to what is going on with the defense in multiple ways. And you're looking at Geno Smith. I still think it have pretty good value here. He's available in about 2/3 of Yahoo's league. So a lot of people not believing in Carr, Smith, or Darnold. If I had to go this week, particularly, I say Carr, Smith, Darnold as the rankings. If I'm going a little longer term, Carr is not going to go anywhere as the starter for the Saints. So I think he would be number one, Geno Smith number two, to have more than just bye week value or backup value. They could be playable for good stretches here with favorable schedules available to the Saints and Seahawks, respectively. All right, defenses. Let's just get two out of the way here. I think you can still play the Raiders, even though the pivot has been made from Bryce Young to Andy Dalton. For the Panthers, that just means there's some opportunities for sacks, picks. Dalton is a little bit older. This pressure defense with Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins can cause a lot of problems there for the front of the Panthers, so that can give them an opportunity, the Raiders, in their home opener to be very productive in fantasy. Now, another team I really like this week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I've been really impressed. They got some plays last week from their makeshift secondary without Antoine Winfield Jr. They'd already traded Carlton Davis in the offseason, so they've been pretty weak on the back end, but they got better, made some plays there. They got some pressure as well in the game against the Lions. So when I look at the Buccaneers, they're getting the Broncos at home. That's Bo Nix, compressed quarterback. He can struggle. If someone has dropped the team Green Bay, I think you look at them as well. They do get the Titans this week. So Green Bay getting Will Levis. So those are the three that I would target the most. Las Vegas, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay as options for your fantasy and defense special team streamer of the week. All right, there you have it. There's a look at your waiver wire. We went through the running backs and wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends, and defenses here that you should think about, and in a lot of cases, must add here for week 3. Thanks again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen day. Now go make Locked On NFL your second listen here on the network. For Locked On Fantasy Football, for Michelle Majuk, this has been Vinnie Iyer. See you next time. Bye, y'all.